think of the fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders? They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase it's not about the big crowds.
The comedian didn't mince words, torching the idea of AOC as a serious presidential contender. In Maher's view, she's simply too woke to lead the Democratic Party, so much so that he half-jokingly suggested the DNC might be better off with someone who has the boldness and bravado of Donald Trump. And Maher wasn't alone. His takedown sparked a firestorm, with others quickly piling on, calling the idea of an AOC-led Democratic ticket a political suicide mission. Love him or hate him, Maher knows how to stir the pot, and this time he's serving up a warning the DNC can't afford to ignore. So if you're new here, smash that subscribe button, grab your popcorn, and let's dive into the hot mess that is AOC 2028. Let's kick things off with this old clip for perspective and context.
AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun.
Now, I know you've seen this before, and I've already spoken at length about it, so I won't dwell here. I'm showing you this clip simply to give context for what's coming next. Yes, AOC is drawing big crowds wherever she goes, and I'll give her credit for that. But as Bill Maher rightly pointed out, what really counts isn't who cheers the loudest at rallies. It's who shows up to vote on Election Day. Remember Kamala Harris. She had the fans, the flash, and half of Hollywood swooning over her. She had the buzz, the endorsements, and the media machine behind her. But we all know how that story ended, with one of the most underwhelming campaigns in recent memory. So let's not confuse popularity with electability. As Maher says, charisma might get you applause, but it won't get you Pennsylvania. And Maher wasn't the only one calling out AOC. Here's a left-leaning voice taking her to task for claiming that Trump is weaponizing the Justice Department. Take a listen.
Not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state of New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job done.
Did you catch that awkward pause? That slight hesitation in AOC's voice. It was almost like she didn't see the question coming. And to be honest, neither did I, especially not from NPR, which is usually friendly territory for Democrats. But let's give credit where it's due. The question was completely valid. While Democrats loudly accused Trump of weaponizing the Department of Justice, they conveniently overlooked their own track record of doing the same, particularly against Trump himself. What's fascinating now is watching AOC scramble to justify the double standard. She's usually media savvy, but this one clearly caught her off guard. You can almost see the mental gymnastics begin, pausing, recalibrating, trying to find the right spin. And if this is how she reacts to a single fair question, imagine what happens when the media actually starts pressing harder. Let's see how she tries to wriggle out of this one.
Other Democrats are watching their words.
I think it's certainly possible, but I'm not sure. I mean, I cannot think of or point to any individuals who have said that. I do think that there are Democratic members of Congress who are preparing for that possibility.
How do they prepare?
I think they look to the possibility of litigation. I think they're saying, do we have the best teams possible in order to carry out our work?
Some Republican, or many perhaps, will be watching this, listening to this, and thinking, wait a minute, actually, you're the ones who are prosecuting us. You are the guys who are weaponizing the Justice Department. How would you respond to somebody who may be thinking that?
In what way? In what way?
Now that is comedy gold. Watching the usually sharp-tongued and media-polished AOC fumble for words is nothing short of entertaining. She's clearly grasping at straws, trying to defend how her party used the DOJ as a political weapon to keep Trump from running for office. Her fallback defense? That Trump was tried by a jury of his peers and found guilty. Sure, let's go with that. But if that's the standard they're so proud of, why are they suddenly crying foul now that the tables are turning? Why does the justice system only work when it targets their opponents, but become broken when it starts to look their way? The hypocrisy here is staggering. It's the kind of double standard that's become all too familiar. Rules for thee, but not for me. And the irony? It's almost too rich to ignore. If accountability really matters, it should apply across the board. But clearly, for the left, it only counts when it fits their agenda.
Is the very presence
Putting
of
Trump on trial would be their example, I suppose.
Yes, I mean, here's the deal. In the United States, there is a jury where we are judged by our peers, and he was found guilty in court on 34 felony charges. If people want to say it was weaponized, I mean, it is hard-pressed to say that there's a partisan argument for it.
And once again, AOC gets caught in her own web. So how does she respond? By doing what she does best, spinning and sidestepping. She flat out dodged the question. Did you catch the wordplay? She claimed she was giving advice to her constituents about their rights. But that's not what the interviewer asked. The question was crystal clear. Was she giving advice to illegal immigrants? She couldn't admit that without landing herself in political trouble, so she cleverly swapped illegal immigrants for constituents, a term that typically refers to legal residents or citizens. It was a calculated deflection. Honestly, I'm starting to wonder if AOC is really as sharp as the media hype suggests. This wasn't some masterclass in political strategy. It was a weak dodge. And the fact that she thought no one would notice? That's the real joke. It's the same kind of deflection we saw when she faced off with Tom Homan about a year ago.
Recent dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
Homan was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Mm-hmm. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents.
Ouch, that had to sting. Honestly, I'm struggling to make sense of what AOC was even trying to argue here. Her logic is all over the place. The U.S. cannot, and should not, detain both parent and child together in every immigration case. If an undocumented immigrant is caught with a child, some form of separation is often inevitable. That's just the legal and logistical reality. Yet AOC continues to push an emotional narrative, conveniently ignoring that the same standards apply to American citizens. If a U.S. citizen is arrested, say, for a DUI, and separated from their child, no one calls it a human rights crisis. But when it involves an undocumented immigrant, suddenly it's treated like a national scandal. That's the double standard she keeps promoting. And it's why I keep saying AOC consistently puts the interests of undocumented immigrants ahead of law-abiding Americans. She's not fighting for justice, she's chasing political points. The logic doesn't hold up, the emotion is weaponized, and the hypocrisy couldn't be more obvious. Meanwhile, Homan doesn't back down. He doubles down.
Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Boom, just like that. AOC scuttles away like a scared cat caught in the spotlight. She simply couldn't handle the pressure once Tom Homan brought the heat during the hearing. This is what happens when performative outrage runs headfirst into cold, hard facts. Holman didn't raise his voice or resort to theatrics. He simply laid out the due process of the law, plain and simple. If someone genuinely wants asylum, there's a legal pathway for that. You don't just cross the border illegally and expect to be exempt from the law. But AOC, as always, tried to turn it into a morality tale, one that conveniently ignores law, order, and fairness. When confronted with logic and the hard realities of border enforcement, she had no rebuttal. Just vague emotional appeals and a quiet retreat. That's the difference between grandstanding and governing. Holman came with facts. AOC came with feelings. And in the real world, feelings don't win arguments. So how does AOC react when she gets a taste of her own medicine? Let's find out.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman, with
family.
all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
That's exactly how it feels when you finally get a taste of the very medicine you've been prescribing to others. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? As I've always said, these so-called activists are often just hypocrites in disguise, hiding behind buzzwords and selective outrage. So take their recommendations and their outrage with a heavy pinch of salt. If you're wondering why AOC looked visibly embarrassed, here's your answer. She outright refused to call what Hamas did to Israel last year a genocide. Let that sink in. If the roles had been reversed, she wouldn't have hesitated for a second to label it genocide, complete with hashtags and emotional interviews. But when it doesn't fit the narrative she's invested in, suddenly, it's complicated. Suddenly, she's silent. This isn't about justice or truth. It's about politics and performative sympathy. The double standard is glaring, and the moral compass is clearly broken. That's why her credibility continues to crumble under real scrutiny.
You're going to cut this and you're going to clip this so that it's completely out of context. I already said that it was, and y'all are just going to pretend that it wasn't over and over again. It's up, man. You're not helping these people, and you're not helping them.
You refuse to.
You're not helping them.
Wasn't she the one who advised lefties like her to make Republicans feel uncomfortable in public, to get in their faces? Well, honey, call this instant karma.
You refuse to call it a genocide in front of everybody.
I need you to understand that this is not
It's not okay that there's a genocide happening. You're not actively against it.
You're lying.
I'm lying.
You're not.
You went on TV and avoided talking about it.
Bill Maher was absolutely right. An AOC Sanders ticket would be a political death sentence for the Democrats. It's not just bad strategy. It's a complete detachment from reality. Both AOC and Sanders are more focused on optics than outcomes, on performative grandstanding rather than pragmatic leadership. Sanders talks endlessly about taking down the oligarchy, all while existing comfortably within a party full of corporate elites and political insiders. The irony is staggering. At AOC, she simply doesn't have the depth, experience, or intellectual grounding to deserve a serious spot on any national ticket. Her popularity is driven more by viral moments and social media buzz than real substance. Elevating figures like AOC and Sanders might energize the far-left fringe, but it alienates the very voters Democrats need to win. If the party keeps chasing ideological purity and emotional theatrics, they won't just lose, they'll implode. If you enjoyed this video, ring the bell and turn on notifications so you never miss a new one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Yes, the modern Democrats, they're the party of neo-Marxists like AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're leading the party right now, leading them straight to the depths of hell.
This isn't just about Republicans either. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too.
We have a message for Mr. Trump. And that is, we will not allow you to move this country into an oligarchy.